Hello and welcome to A-Level Media Studies. I hope this presentation is going to give you a lot of information and a lot of answers to some of the questions you might have and leave you feeling like you really can't wait to get started. So in Year 12, your teachers will be me, Miss Richardson, and Miss Thorpe. And we will each deliver different elements of the course, which you'll look at in a moment. You have 5 lessons a week, and 3 of those will be with me, and 2 of those will be with Miss Thorpe. We've both been teaching media studies for quite a while. I've been doing it for many years. Miss Thorpe has particular interest in politics, and that fits in very nicely with what we look at in media. We both enjoy the creative side, so we can really help you out with the creative element. And you know, a lot of our skills in English also help you to read and analyse the many media texts that you're going to be working with. So here you can see the outline of the entire A-level. We use the Educast board for our A-level, and they're particularly good because they give us a lot of resources to help us really understand the many products that we look at. So there are 3 elements to the course. We call them components. So we have component 1, which is in fact an examination paper, so paper 1, and that focuses on media products, industries and audiences. And there's quite a few texts that you will need to know to help you with that, but we'll look at those in a moment. It's a 2-hour, 15-minute exam, and it's worth 90 marks, and that's 35% of your whole qualification. Then we have component 2, again, another examination paper, and this one is on very specific products. So it's called Media Forms and Products in Depth. So with this paper, you write more extended responses. The paper 1, there are a few longer responses, but on the whole, they're not essay length. Whereas component 2, you're really writing 3 essays. And that again is worth 90 marks. It's slightly longer, 2 hours 30 minutes long, and that's worth 35% of your qualification. Then finally we have component 3, cross-media production. This is an NEA, a non-exam assessment. So it's, I suppose you might call it coursework, but it's really an incredibly enjoyable element. This is where you can get very creative because you make media products here. So if any of you have done something like the iMedia, you might have made some media products then. We get the chance to really develop our creative skills and make some really high quality media products for ourselves here. And very kind of fortunately for us in this A-level, it's worth 30%. I say fortunately because most students do pretty well on this element and you have plenty of time to perfect it. In some A-levels, the NEA is only worth 20%, so you can really boost your marks if you do a fantastic job on your NEA. So here you can see a little bit more information about the examination element of the A-level. We have the structure of component 1 and component 2. When we look at component 1, we can see that it's in 2 sections, one looking at analysing media language and representation, and the second section looking at understanding media industries and audiences. For this paper, we have to study a whole range of specific media products, and the questions will be about those products. We'll see those in the next slide. But we won't get a question on all of those products. So the board are a little tricky with us here. They give us a lot of products. We have to know them very, very well and be prepared to answer the sorts of questions we might get on them. But they will only give us a selection of them in the exam. So don't feel overwhelmed when we look at how many products we're going to work with. You won't have to write about all of those in paper 1. Component 2 is a little bit different. We know what the text will be, and we know that we will get questions on all of them. So as I said previously, this is more of essay style responses. However, you could get a 2-part question where you write 2 shorter responses, or you could get 1 question where you write more of an essay. So section A, television in the global age, we'll be studying the television program Humans and the television program The Returned. And we will definitely be getting questions on those products. Section B, we look at magazines, mainstream and alternative media. So we'll look at a historic mainstream magazine, Vogue, and then we'll look at a more current magazine, The Big Issue, an alternative independent magazine. Then section C, we look at media and the online age, and we look at 2 texts there as well. We look at Zoella and the developments of vlogging. We go a little beyond just looking at her now archived website, and we also look at an online magazine, looking at the online aspect of magazines with Attitude magazines. You get a fact sheet, and if you've got a great memory, it's fabulous, because you just need to kind of memorize all of those things and you'll be fine. But not all of us work in that way. So you can see that we have quite a few visual products. So we have things like the music video, where you might not remember all of the facts from the fact sheet, but you probably will remember the narrative of the music video, certain strong images from the video, certain pieces of music. So what I'm saying is that we can use different methods for memorizing. So not necessarily learning the facts off by heart, but thinking about how the music can bring back some of the information. So that again, don't feel daunted by the amount. Just think there are different ways of holding on to the information. So as well as the advertising and marketing, we have music video, we have video game. Now, we don't sit around playing video games, as fun as that might sound. The video game element here is really to look at how it's developed historically. So this is for paper 1, section B, which is industries. So this is really, we don't have to play the game. What I would say though is that it is worth looking beyond what you might usually engage with in media, but maybe look at video gaming. If you haven't really engaged with music videos, we'll have a look at them. If you haven't really been paying attention to adverts, we'll have a look at them, although they won't be in the actual exam because we just have the set products in the exam. They will alert you to that wider understanding of how these things are put together and the impact of them. So it's really good preparation. We also study newspapers. Again, we look at very specific products. So we look at the 2 front pages that are here, and we learn to analyse those very well. But they could also be an unseen newspaper text that we have to be prepared to analyse there and then. Now you might be pleased to see we have film. We've got 2 great films here, but we really look at film marketing. Again, we don't have to watch the films. I would say if we don't watch the films, we won't really understand some of the marketing issues around them. So we have Black Panther and I, Daniel Blake. One is a mainstream movie, one is an independent. They're all they both have fabulous ways of engaging with important issues, very different styles, and people always enjoy doing that unit. And we have a little slot on radio. It's really looking at the development of radio from being simply listening to it on the radio to becoming digital, and how it works online. And we look at a particular case study there. We look at Late Night Women's Hour, which you may or may not know, but that's a fairly straightforward one. Then we have our Comp 2, our Paper 2 products. So we have our 2 television programs. We only need to know the first episode of Humans and the first episode of The Returned. I can guarantee you, once you've started looking at these, you're not going to want to stop. They're fantastic. So you will definitely enjoy those. Then we have our magazine element. We look at a very particular magazine from 1965, which probably sounds like ancient history to you, but it's really interesting when we look at this copy of Vogue with Sophia Loren, famous film star, on the front. It's not hugely removed from Vogue today. They are trying to be more diverse, but we'll see Vogue in the 60s was trying to keep up with the times as well. The other magazine we look at is the Big Issue, so not a fashion magazine at all, an issue magazine, which some of you may have seen copies of or bought from people selling out on the street. We look at the history behind that, but we also look at this particular edition, the 25-year edition. Then finally, we have our online products. As I said, we look at Zoella as a case study, and we look at Attitude Online Magazine, really to look at some of the industry factors, but also about they're both really good for looking at representation and audience engagement, that interactivity that I mentioned earlier. As well as looking at all of those products, we have to apply context to them. So this is something that runs alongside with the theory, that we look at the historical context, the social and historical context, the economic context, and the political context. So if anybody says to you, oh, doing media studies, you're just sitting around watching films, you can say to them, no, it's actually a highly academic, intellectual A-level. It is, but it's also a whole lot of fun. Just don't tell them about the fun bit, you know, it's the tell them about the brainy bit. More of the brainy bit. You know, I mentioned the theorists that will help us. These are the theories that we have to look at, the more specific ones. Don't feel overwhelmed by that. These theories are so useful for all A levels. Okay, so you will see a little bit of crossover maybe. If you do some subjects like sociology, or politics, or criminology, or history, you may well see some of the same theories cropping up. Even if you don't do those subjects, having the ability to read any image, any text, anything that anybody says from these perspectives are really empowering. So this is where media can actually feed in to a lot of your other subjects as well. Okay, so here we have some of the common questions and concerns that many of our students arrive with. What often happens with media is that people worry if they haven't done a GCSE in it. You might have done iMedia. It's a little bit different to the A-level media studies because you don't have the same analytical approach there, but you probably will have made a product, so that will certainly help. But if you've had nothing to do with media before, don't worry. I mean, we live in a media-rich society. You're constantly surrounded by it. So even if you haven't been completely aware of it, it'll have seeped in. And it's one of those A-levels, there's a few of them that you can actually start right from the beginning and you speed up with it quite quickly. So don't worry. However, it kind of moves on to what will be expected of you. It's a good idea to actually wake up your kind of sleeping notion of media. Be aware when you're engaging with media. Start thinking questions like, who made this? Why did they make it? Who will be watching this? What could the impact be on them? Etc. What we really expect of you is complete engagement. You know, when we're in lessons, we have very small groups. Everybody needs to contribute. We need to be able to discuss the products. If you don't particularly like talking in a group, you know, that small group setup, I'm sure, will be really beneficial to you, and you will build your confidence in doing that. We expect you to complete all of the work, obviously, but we also expect you to ask questions if you're feeling you don't know where to go with this. You know, we don't want you struggling by yourselves. We'll have 5 lessons a week, and you need to be not just present in those lessons, but fully present. As I said earlier, fully engaged. They're crucial. You get a lot of information. We do quite a lot of flipped learning in media, where you'll get a lot of the information on Firefly to look at in your own time, and then when you arrive at the lesson to actually discuss the work that you've done. But sometimes, you know, we'll do it the other way around, and we'll set up a task in the lesson that you'll complete in your own time. So this spending time on homework, for media, it's a really important one. I mean, it is for all of your subjects, but for media, for things like creating your media products, there's no way you can do that just in your lesson. You will have throughout the day some study periods, and they're not free periods. There'll be time when you can actually get on with some of that work. How do I improve my skills? Well, which skills are we talking about? Your skills of analysis. Really, that's going to be going through the teaching process, that's kind of doing it with you and leading you to the point you can do it by yourself and practicing and practicing. You may feel your essay writing skills aren't that great at the moment. Again, it's practice. It's always practice, like anything. Your brain, your mind is just another muscle. So steady, regular practice. Don't overload yourself little and often. Media's quite an interesting one for storing notes, because we will need an electronic folder. At the moment, we use the shared drive quite a lot, the O drive for production work, so that I can have a look at how things are going. But we also have physical folders, because there's a lot of information. So we check these on a very regular basis, not to get on your case, not to give you a hard time, but to make sure you have got everything you need in that folder, and that you are staying on top of being organised. And you know, not everybody finds that easy, so we hopefully will help you stay organised, because there's a lot you have to remember, and if you lose some crucial elements, that's going to be problematic when it comes to revision. What if there are things I don't understand? There are always things we feel we don't fully understand. What I would say is ask questions. If you're feeling you're not understanding, it could be that you just have a different perspective on things. So share your thoughts. But the real important thing is you don't keep it to yourself. You do talk to us, and we'll help you come to an understanding, or just feel confident that maybe you do understand, you're just taking a slightly different approach. Here's a few words from some of our current students. Have a little read. So that's been a lot of information to take on board. Remember, you can always go back over it and look again. But other than look through the presentation, what else can you do to prepare? Well, first of all, there are transition tasks. There's a lot there for you to work through. Hopefully they're enjoyable. They will certainly prepare you for the course. On Firefly, we have access to the e-magazine for A-level media, and they're very high quality, bite-sized pieces of information, articles on all of the issues that we will be looking at on the course, so they're well worth having a look at. You might want to research a little further around some of the products that I've already shown you. I would say the most important thing is to engage in media in all of its forms. Think about the media that you like to use already, but challenge yourself and maybe look at some of the other forms that relate to the set products that we'll look at. There's also quite a few things here that if you wanted to take things a little bit further, you could have a look at. It's by no means every single thing, because as I say, we live in a media saturated society. There's an awful lot of great stuff out there, but do take a look at these, and you will be fully prepared. I suppose the most important thing to say is, it's going to be fun. Remember what those students were studying. It said, yes, there's a lot of work, but it's enjoyable work. We have a great atmosphere within the classroom, and we're very excited about you joining us. It's a very exclusive team of A-level students, so this is going to be a great start for you.